bought a motorcycle from them. I had gone back to them and told them that I was having a hard time riding it, and I was not so sure I had made a wise decision.
Pop quiz. Let's say you just bought a 2003 Gixxer 750 as your very first motorcycle. Turns out that was the worst idea. Do you A, return it, B, sell it on Craigslist, or C, go back to the dealership where you got it from and murder everyone you encounter? And if you picked C, your name might be Todd Kohlhepp. So back in November of 2003, Noel Lee, a resident of Spartanburg County, Chesney, South Carolina, walked up to Superbike Motorsports dealership and found himself in the middle of a gruesome crime scene. 2 dead bodies in pools of blood blocked the front door, which were later identified as the owner of the dealership, Scott Ponder, and service manager Brian Lucas. At first, Noel thought he was being pranked because these were really good friends of his. So after a couple pokes and prods, he realized the gravity of the situation and ran inside to call 911. On the way to the phone, he found Scott's mother, Beverly, by the restrooms, dead on the floor, and the dealership's service manager, Chris Sherbert.
Okay, what's the problem?
Apparently everybody's been shot up here. Everybody's laying down in a pool of blood. His mama's been shot, the mechanic's been shot, and the owner.
And when Chesney PD finally arrived, they were pretty stumped. This scene was violent, it was gruesome, and lacked an apparent motive since there wasn't any missing cash or motorcycles. Further digging only led police to more questions than answers. Scott Ponder had no known enemies. And not only that, but he had opened Superbike Motorsports earlier that year and was seeing massive success. He was also a truly passionate motorcycle enthusiast and was a big pillar in the riding community in South Carolina. But it didn't take long for small-town rumors to ripple through the town. Suddenly, speculations that Chris was a drug pusher, because all of us motorcyclists like doing drugs. But police came up with zero evidence to back up these claims. Scott's wife, Melissa, had recently given birth to her first child with Scott, and she was called in for questioning numerous times because this is America and you're guilty until proven innocent. And this led to dead ends. In a Hail Mary attempt for any sort of evidence, police unearthed a dirty diaper that Melissa had thrown in the trash while being questioned at the police station so that they could use it for DNA testing. Note to self, don't change any dirty diapers at the police station. And the results of this DNA test were shocking. Melissa's son wasn't Scott's. It was actually the service manager, Brian Lucas's. Finally, the cops had what they needed to peg Melissa as some murderous, love-triangulated wife. Now, Melissa, who's irate, lawyers up and stops talking to the police. Because not only are they insinuating that she murdered her husband but now they're also insinuating that she had an affair. So, like I said, lawyer up from the beginning. Always, don't ever talk to the cops. Suspicion around Melissa remained for a couple years. Later, investigators reanalyzed the scene and discovered that Brian and Scott's DNA samples from pools of blood had actually been messed up. Like I said, lawyer up. So Melissa was not bang-ringing the service manager. Bang-ringing? And when police interviewed the last customer to see all 4 victims alive, he remembered something pretty strange.
Like Scott Ponder started focusing on another customer, looking at a black Suzuki in the showroom.
And I overheard him say, "Hey, this is a good beginner's bike." And I'm like, that's a pretty big bike for a beginner. But, Scott knew his bikes.
And now this is where things get really weird because the case will go unsolved for 13 years. That's right, 13 years. A totally unrelated crime would emerge that would lead investigators back to this fateful day at Superbike Motorsports. Fast forward to 2016, 2 residents of the same county, Kayla Brown and her boyfriend Charlie Carver, have disappeared after visiting a property that they were helping clean for a local real estate agent. And as days passed, their family members grew increasingly concerned as neither of them were answering phone calls or texts. However, weeks later, they started getting Facebook messages from Kayla and Charlie saying that they had eloped, they were married, they're happy, don't bother them. And of course, this was not like them. This was unnerving. This was strange. They demanded at least one phone call to authenticate that this was them actually sending the Facebook messages. As time went on, without hearing from the couple, their family created Facebook pages dedicated to finding them. And in a strange and downright creepy sort of turn, Kayla and Charlie started liking posts on their own missing Facebook pages. Ooh. And not only that, but whoever was controlling their Facebook accounts started posting about sword violence and digging holes and some like freaky deaky Eagles lyrics from the song Hotel California. Last thing I remember, I was running for the door. I had to find the passage back to the place I was before. Relax, said the night man. We are programmed to receive. You can check out at any time you like, but you can never leave. The kidnapper would also post these same lyrics on an Amazon review for high security padlocks that he had bought. And I read, now my locks have locks. Places, Hotel California now. Yuck. Eventually, the cops traced the whereabouts to Todd Colehep, the real estate agent who owns a 100-acre property that cops never checked. Weird. I'm sure there's more to that, but just reading it as a plebeian, as a pedestrian, why didn't you go there first? Guess what they find on his property? A big old locked shipping container. And you know who they find inside of there?
Watch out, y'all move. I got it, watch out, boss.
Coming through, okay? What's your name? What's your name, man?
Lauren.
Gotcha.
All right.
Just a girl.
Just a girl. How are you, honey?
We're bolt cutters.
This is our best. He's a paramedic, sweetheart.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get you out of there, okay?
Just hang loose for me.
Anybody got I need a handcuff key. Handcuff key. I got it right here.
Hold up. Y'all slide back.
Hold on. He's got a light. We gotta let him take photographs. Randy, let me see your light, Randy. You can put your hand down, sweetheart. I got one's in my car. One's under my car. Gloves on when I did that.
No big deal.
Bolt cutter.
No big deal.
Just hit the chain right there, loose.
Hold it up. Yeah.
Just right there at her hand, Brandon. We'll get it off.
We'll get it off here. Cut it right here.
Do you know where your buddy is?
Charlie,
Yes.
he shot him.
He shot him.
Who did?
Todd Colehep shot Charlie Carver 3 times in the chest, wrapped him in a blue tarp, put him in the bucket of the tractor, locked me down here, and I never seen him again.
Okay.
He says he's dead and buried. He says there's several bodies dead and buried out here, and he says that the dogs will be ruined if they go looking because there's red pepper.
We're gonna step you out, sweet. Because there's what?
Red pepper.
Okay. Tell the dog people that.
Then police also find 3 graves nearby, and one of them belonging to her friend Charlie, who was shot by Todd in the head for having a smart mouth. Now, during this investigation, Todd just confesses to the quadruple homicide that was 13 years earlier at Superbike Motorsports. According to Colehep, the manager made fun of him for trying to trade in his Gixxer 750, arguably worst beginner bike in American history. It's not funny, it's gross, but it's just, here I am.
I bought a motorcycle from them. I had gone back to them and told them that I was having a hard time riding it. And I was not so sure I had made a wise decision.
Because I was
inexperienced. They proceeded to give me a little on the rude side about my inability to ride that kind of bike.
The bike was stolen a couple weeks after he had bought it, and he was fixated on he knew it was a dealership. Yeah, people from the dealership came to his house and stole the bike that he bought from them because they thought he was dumb, that he couldn't ride a Gixxer 750 when he didn't have his motorcycle license. So like any sane American, he went and purchased a gun and stocked the shop until the 4 people he was mad at left. He went on to brag to investigators too how, he stumped them for 13 years, and he wore latex gloves while loading the magazine, and all of just, it was very telling that this guy was sick, very, very sick.
I will tell you that once I was engaged. So it's like at that point it's almost like a video game. It's not a game, but it's almost like you're focused on, you've been there, sir. I cleared that building in under 30 seconds. you guys would have been proud. I'm sorry, but you guys would have been proud.
And there you have it. That's the worst beginner bike story in American history. Sorry, I don't know. I don't know what else to say.